The trial was unlike any we have ever seen at court TV. The verdict was shocking, and the scene outside the courthouse unparalleled. The trial of Karen Read is one that will be remembered for years to come. Some will remember the Free Karen Read movement, led by a man known as Turtle Boy, and the Sea of Pink that covered the streets around the courthouse for 2 years and 2 trials. Some will remember the controversy surrounding the investigation and a disgraced state trooper named Proctor. Some will remember the wild experiments done by the experts from both sides with expensive Lexus SUVs. Some will never forget the words, "not guilty," and the reaction at the courthouse and online. And hopefully, none will forget the man who lost his life on that snowy night in Canton, Massachusetts, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Tonight, we get new insight into the verdict as Juror 11 joins us live for the hour for an in-depth, insightful interview as we continue our coverage of the retrial of the century. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments, still in the aftermath of the retrial of the century and that verdict in Dedham, Massachusetts. I want to begin here. Let's remember him, John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe, who was a brave Boston police officer who served for many, many years, 16 years. John O'Keefe, who when there was a family tragedy and a second family tragedy where his niece and nephew lost their mother and father within months of one another, as a single Boston police officer, he jumped in and raised those children over the course of 7 years until he died. The truth didn't come out. The truth didn't come out. The only way the truth comes out is if something is proven beyond any and all reasonable doubt, and that didn't happen in this case. But we can't forget Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Now, another question. What will she do now, Karen Read? This has been her life, literally, for 3.5 years. Fighting these charges, proclaiming her innocence, and then claiming her innocence inside of a courtroom where a jury found her not guilty. And I say claiming her innocence because she was presumed innocent from the beginning. That presumption remains as the judge instructs the jury in every case up until the point that they are proven beyond a reasonable doubt to be guilty. That never happened in this case. So that cloak of innocence that our system of justice gives her, she's still wearing that. So what will she do next? What will she do? You know, a few days ago, she didn't know if she'd be spending the rest of her life behind bars. Now she's not. So we'll keep an eye on Karen Read and see what she does with this time, with this life that she has ahead of her after going through what she went through in the last 3.5 years. Now, here at Court TV, we showed you what happened. We showed you the testimony. We showed you the evidence. We explained the motions that were filed. We brought in analysts. Then, when it came time for the jury to decide, we showed you what happened. We showed you the reaction. Tonight, we're going to tell you why it happened. How are we going to do that? We're going to take you inside the jury room because we've got one of the deliberating jurors joining us tonight right here on the program for this hour. And during the hour, I'm going to ask all the questions that I believe you want asked. And we're going to find out why this happened and what it was like to be in that jury box. Let's take one more look at how we arrived at this moment as we get prepared to interview juror number 11.
On murder in the second degree, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
002, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty?
Not guilty.
is proved not guilty or guilty of that charge or the lesser included charge. Thank you. Specifically, number 5, operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct? So say you, Mr. Foreman? Guilty. So say you all? Yes. 003. What say is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? The defendant not guilty or guilty? Not guilty. So say you, Mr. Foreman? Yes. So say you all? Yes. All rise.
One for the ages. Never seen anything like it. Okay, it is time. I am joined by Paula Prado, one of the 12 jurors in the Karen Reed retrial of this century. Paula, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, are you feeling okay? This has been a lot. This has been a long process. You feeling okay tonight?
Yeah, it's just a bit tired with everything that has been going on, especially today. But I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so we appreciate that. Let me ask you, first of all, not guilty or factually innocent? In your mind tonight, not guilty meaning prosecutors didn't prove it, that's the standard in our courtrooms, we understand. Do you believe that she was just not proven guilty, or do you believe she was factually innocent, meaning you are convinced she had nothing to do with the death of John O'Keefe?
Not guilty and innocent. In my personal opinion, she is innocent. I can't see his death being caused by a collision. I'm not sure if a collision happened. I've mentioned before that maybe she touched him, maybe she backed up a little fast and hit a curb or got too close to him and he had to step away or something. But I don't think her car pushed John O'Keefe to death, that pushed him away and made him hit his head on the floor and kill him. So not guilty and innocent.
And you just mentioned one potential theory there. Is that what you think may have happened here to John O'Keefe? What are your thoughts about how John O'Keefe could have ended up dead on the yard of 34 Fairview?
Yeah, again, it's a theory. The same way I couldn't prove that Karen Reed was guilty, I can't prove what happened inside that house, what happened that night. But I do believe that because of the amount of alcohol both of them had, John O'Keefe had more to drink than Karen. Maybe when he left the car, she could back up too fast and touch him, and that could be an explanation for him to lose his shoes or for his phone to fall down and get in pocket state, which was something that the data showed us. But in my opinion, he got up and he went inside the house with or without shoes. I don't know when he lost his shoes eventually, but I don't think he died outside. I think something happened inside the house and he was placed outside.
And do you have because it's not clear, and the defense was talking about the garage. In the first trial, they talked about the basement. Do you have any idea where in the house he may have gone, and why do you think that?
Assuming that a lot of the witnesses that was in the house that night didn't see him, all the Brian, his friends, the people who are celebrating his birthday, assuming that none of them saw him, so maybe he went inside the house through the garage. And during trial, there was a moment with a picture of the garage that was hidden from us. We had to leave the courtroom and then come back, and we don't know why the garage door has to be blurred for us. I don't know why we can see pictures from inside the garage or having an idea how the inside the garage look. But I remember in one of the witnesses, the last one, Dr. La Posada, she mentioned that he saw pictures of a real estate agency of the garage inside, but was objected and we didn't hear from her what was inside the garage. But raised doubts, raised questions.
So just the fact that there was a question about it. So what was your interpretation of why you weren't allowed to see it? Like, what's the impact of that on you? That's something I'm always very curious about when there's a piece of evidence that one side wants in, and then all of a sudden you're not allowed to see it. What did you take away from that?
It becomes suspicious. If there is something over there that the Commonwealth didn't want us to see, it's because it could be something beneficial to Karen Read. And what could be beneficial for Karen Read regarding a garage door or a picture of inside the garage coming from a real estate? I don't know, but I think that was a question for a lot of us.
Fascinating. How quickly did the entire jury agree that there wasn't a collision?
I cannot count Friday as a day we actually start deliberating. On Friday was just more as everybody just want to talk because we've been silenced about this case for so long. And we really want to just put it out our impressions, what we think about the trial, this evidence, X, Y, and Z. So it was very chaotic. But Monday we start to be more organized and checking the witnesses and checking our notebooks, what one juror had written, what I did, and what other did. So we can check facts and see and remember everything that we heard and saw it. There were people who didn't believe Karen Read killed him, and there was also, I would say 30% that was like in the fence, and there were two people who want to think she was guilty, and we had to talk through it.
And how long did it take to talk through it for everyone to agree that, hey, this wasn't a collision, now we've got to talk about the operating under the influence charge?
The next 3 days, pretty much.
Okay,
whole Monday, whole Tuesday, we are going through it.
Okay. I didn't know if you had reached it on one and then we're just focused on the other, but it was a continuing conversation. Let me ask you, do you have any idea what was going on outside?
No, and it's bothering me that some people think we are influenced by the Karen Read supporters, that we are hearing them and we felt pressure or something. We couldn't hear anything. We didn't see them in the courthouse because the bus always dropped us off in the back of the courthouse, and the streets were closed, police were protecting us, the people from the court, the security guards, they were all protecting us. So no way we couldn't see what was happening in front of the court. Sometimes we would drive by and see a pink shirt here and there, but that was it. Not that big crowd. And we couldn't hear. Bottom line, we couldn't hear.
Okay, let's get into some of the evidence here. What was the most important piece of evidence for you? Physical evidence, whether it's a video or something tangible. What was the most important piece that helped you understand what happened?
The piece of taillight definitely was very important to me. Seeing the broke taillight compared to a new one, comparing to his shirts, comparing to the little pieces. So putting everything together around the taillight was very important. And the holes on John O'Keefe's hoodie, it didn't feel like something coming from the plastic of the taillight, the shape of the holes. So that raised suspicion to me and reasonable doubt. His arm injuries for sure, seeing close-up pictures of his arms and the autopsy pictures in general, looking for more injuries, more evidence of a collision from a car at 24 miles per hour. And I couldn't see it, and none of us could.
That's interesting, right? I said, what's the most important piece of evidence? And you pointed out a couple things, but there's also a lack of evidence, which is significant as well. Who was the most important witness?
The medical examiners were very important. The engineers from ARCA, to me, were very important. But also the witness who didn't behave as we expected. Their demeanor in the court, in the stand, they were nervous, they not answered directly. So we observed that too. So most important witness for me was ARCA, both of the engineers who came, but also observe Officer Dever and Officer Buchanan and how they interacted with the lawyers in court. That also was very important to me.
Did you feel at any point during this trial that anyone was misleading you or trying to mislead you, whether it's one of the lawyers or one of the witnesses?
Every day, I think. I think that's something that we comment in the deliberation room, that we felt lied from everyone, everywhere. Like some moments I know attorneys, they needed to make the drama and point out things and say things that they know they're not supposed to say, but they try to put it out there so we can think about it. I felt some witnesses hide information. Not sure if they lied on stand, but hide information for sure. And the lawyers were they're doing their jobs. They are just trying to lead us in the direction that was convenient to them.
Okay, I get the part with the lawyers. From the witnesses, which witnesses did you feel were trying to hide something from you?
I think Jen McCabe was. I think O'Hara, Officer O'Hara, don't remember his first name. He was shaking. He was very, very nervous during the trial. I'm not sure about the name, but I think Officer Keefe, too. Buchanan, he seems to be very uncomfortable, and something he said didn't seem believable.
Now, was there any witness that you wanted to hear from that did not testify in the trial? Because there were a lot of names talked about during the course of the trial, but not all of them testified. Was there anyone that you wanted to hear from that neither side called to the witness stand?
Definitely, I would really want to hear from Brian Higgins and Brian Albert or Nicole Albert. It was a surprise to all of us that none of them were come to the stand. I didn't know their faces, I just heard their names. I didn't even know who Michael Proctor was until I learned through trial that he was a former officer, so he was fired. But because he was fired and so many people brought his investigation to the spotlight, I think I didn't need to see him, but I really want to see Higgins and Albert. And
what did you want to hear them talk about?
Please, what Brian Higgins was doing in the middle of the night, on the 29th of January 2022, in the Canton Police Department. And really, Brian Alberts and Nicole, you guys didn't hear, didn't see, didn't notice, felt what was going on outside? Those big question marks.
Okay, imagine that Karen Reed is with you in a room. What questions do you have for Karen Reed?
How can you be so calm all the time? Honestly, that's shocking to me. First of all, I'm sorry that she went through this whole thing, and I want to hear from her, like, how she maintained herself so calm and so present and so participative in the whole trial, how she maintained herself so firm all the time, honestly.
Do you have any questions of her about what happened that night?
I think she said enough about what happened, and if I had a chance to talk to her, I wouldn't go on this subject at all. I want to know about her, I want to learn about her, her personality, her likes, her life, whatever, what she has to say to teach, to show us something for the future. I wouldn't ask about the past. That was draining for everybody, and imagine it for her, for Keith's family. What happened that night was presented to us in court. She said many times on television, there is docuseries, there is documentary, there is interviews. I can find that online, no problem.
How about the investigators? What questions do you have for the men and women who were investigating this case?
Why? Why no report? Why the investigation seems so sloppy? Why you guys didn't ask for ring camera of the neighbors? Why you didn't call the owners of the house? Why the video on the Sally Port record inverted? Why you didn't collect evidence right away and left in the floor of a hospital and didn't secure evidence once it was in the police department? So many questions.
Yeah.
All the holes that we found in the investigation, I want to ask.
You mentioned so many questions. I have so many more questions. And Paula Prado, juror number 11, is going to stay with us. We really appreciate it. I know she's tired, but she's being a good trooper tonight and helping us out. All right, folks, so when we come back, more of our interview plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the acquittal of Karen Reed resulted in a celebration in the streets outside the courthouse. But what about the friends and family of John O'Keefe? How are they handling all of this? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
It's the biggest story that we're covering. He is the boogeyman.
So many eyes have been on Donna Adelson from the beginning.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
At 10:53, how many drinks have been served to the defendant at this point?
7.
Objection, Your Honor.
We had statements made by the defendant that she was questioning whether she had hit him.
Sneaker was flushed up against the curb and it was inverted upside down. I believe in total we located maybe 6 or 7 pieces of taillight.
Yes, around 12:31, 56 or 57 is the start of the health event, 36 steps.
How long, how many seconds does that phone move for?
20 seconds.
12:31:56 to 12:32:16?
Correct.
And is that the only time that the phone moves from the point it stops at the flagpole until the next morning?
Correct.
The only time?
Correct.
The only way he could get this kind of an injury was to fall backwards, hit the back of his head, and then the resulting, energy forces going into his brain, into his base of his skull.
The ground was frozen. The soil was frozen, and the surface of the ground was frozen. And it would have made the ground impenetrable.
It is consistent with being struck by a Lexus and ultimately contacting a hard surface such as frozen ground.
And does that specifically pertain to January 29, 2022, around 12:30 a.m.?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, it does.
A lot of evidence in this case from both sides. Let's talk about it. Still here with me is Paula Prado. She's one of the 12 jurors from the retrial of the century of Karen Reed. Okay, Paula, first of all, everyone's wondering, you are wearing pink tonight. Is that on purpose? Is there a meaning to it? Or is it just one of your colors that you love?
It's a color that I love. In fact, I stopped wearing pink mid-trial. I had a lot of pink shirts, and once I heard that was part of her supporters, I don't want to give a wrong message, so I stopped wearing them. So just like a light baby pink, has nothing to do with my support.
Okay. You and me both. I have a whole bunch of pink ties I haven't worn, a whole bunch of blue ties that I haven't worn for months now. Okay, let's talk about the taillight and the taillight pieces. How do you believe the taillight pieces ended up at 34 Fairview, scattered near the place where John O'Keefe's body was found?
The theory I have, like, if she back up and maybe hit something, a curb or him, or some people in the jury raised the question, maybe he he was mad and he could have thrown the glass on the taillight and break it. Another thing, the taillight was found 5:45, but there wasn't a report. The evidence bag didn't say the time, and the car was retrieved and was parked in the sale port at 5:36, if I'm not wrong, and it's very close. The 34 Fairview and the police department is very close. It was time enough for someone to just show up and drop a piece of taillight at the scene.
So you believe that's a reasonable possibility that someone could have planted the evidence?
Yes, I think it's a possibility. I also think could be because she bumped on something, or even him, but lightly, not enough to kill him, throw him away, and he hit his head and die.
Okay, I'm going to show you some images. We put them up there in a second. These are the images from the closing argument of the Commonwealth. When you look at these images of the taillight, this is 5:07. This is after Karen Reed leaves 34 Fairview, but before state troopers take custody of her SUV. Do you believe these show the right taillight broken to the extent that the Commonwealth says it was broken?
Absolutely not. There is like a white stain. It could be a crack, it could be a small piece out, but not that big damage that they showed us after the car was on the sale port.
So I just want to make this clear. You believe that the images that we're looking at right here, inconsistent with the final photo that was in evidence of the total damage that the Commonwealth alleged was caused by Karen Reed striking and killing John O'Keefe.
Correct. And we also heard from Officer Barrows. He said that what he saw in Karen Reed's parents' house wasn't consistent with the final picture neither, so we listened to him as well.
Do you believe that there were small red shards of that taillight in John O'Keefe's clothing? Hank Brennan, the prosecutor, talked a lot about that. Do you believe they were there? And if so, how did they get there?
The pieces were so tiny, so from all the big pieces they said they found on the 34 Fairview, that tiny dust of taillight to the stop on his shirt, I don't know, it doesn't seem credible.
Okay, let me ask you about...
And also the lab, the state lab didn't say from where. She took this from exactly where on his clothes this debris were found.
Let me move on to the experts now. There was a battle of experts in this case. A lot of money was spent on these experts. What did you think of what we're calling the blue paint experiment that was done by Aperture, the accident reconstruction experts for the Commonwealth?
I think that their evidence wasn't good enough compared to what ARCA presented to us. That seems very unprofessional. What he was trying to prove with the blue paint was the place that the car could hit him without considering speed, without considering his size, weight. They are not the same size, they are not the same weight. The dummy wasn't either, but he has a human arm, so it's not like a dummy arm, and hit himself at 2 miles an hour is way different than 24 miles an hour. I smirk a little bit when I start seeing this video in court, because it was unbelievable that they pay so much money for someone to show this, just that presentation.
So I guess from your perspective, we always talk about the battle of the experts was clearly won from your perspective by the ARCA experts.
Yes, the ARCA experts did a way better job than Dr. Welcher did. I won't say Dr. Welcher intended to lead us to certain directions. He was, in his head, probably he was doing what he was asked for. He was proving that the taillight could reach John O'Keefe's arm, but we call it the preschool project.
A preschool
It didn't convince us of anything.
Okay.
Yes.
So the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm, he did have some injuries, right? I understand that you thought there should be more, but the injuries that he did have, how do you believe he got those injuries?
I believe in a dog theory. I know we didn't talk much about the dog in court, and we also didn't talk about the dog during deliberation. because wasn't presented to us much information about the dog. But as soon as I saw that picture, to me sounds like paws scratching and bites of dogs close to his elbow. I couldn't shake it off this impression that it was a dog.
And what were your thoughts of the allegations that Jennifer McCabe, searched How Long to Die in the Cold at 2:27 a.m.? Do you believe that she did?
No, that's something the Commonwealth, I think, proved that she didn't. They did well on that one. The explanation that I think Dr. Whiffen gave about the first tab that you opened, and then if you're going to search something in the same tab later, it's going to register the time you opened the tab. That was reasonable. I think most of the jurors believe in that. We didn't question that search in the middle of the night.
Okay, Paula Prado, Juror 11. She's staying with us. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, more questions and, more important, more answers from juror number 11. That's Karen Reed exiting the courthouse after being sentenced to a year of probation for her one and only conviction, operating under the influence. She was found not guilty of every charge that actually mattered in the case. Welcome back, folks. We've got Paula Prado with us. She was juror number 11 in this case and is really giving us incredible insight tonight. Again, thank you so much. What do you think of Karen Reed? Like, what's your opinion of her? What do you think of her as a person, as a human?
My first impression of her wasn't that good. I had this first prejudgment because she was very calm all the time. She didn't show any emotion, no tears. I'm a Latina woman, so I would expect someone to be crying and making a scene or something when you're being charged for murder. So I did have this pre-judgment of her, but I know nothing about her life. I don't know what she did before. I think they said she was a professor in a college or work in finance. I really don't know anything about her, but I learned how to admire her, and I think she would be a great lawyer if she is looking for a new career path, because she was very present and very sharp on her trial. She knew things, she pointed out things, she remembered things. I think she was a great help to the lawyers, and I admire her for that.
Yeah, her lawyers have said the same. What do you think of Judge Cannoni?
Judge Cannoni, she was pleasant to us, very kind. She made sure we were comfortable, we had our needs met. She was flexible because sometimes we had our lives and we have commitments that we couldn't cancel. So some people were asking, oh, this day the jury they left early. Why? Judge Cannoni doesn't want to work. No, guys, sometimes we just have appointments in a life. A juror has something to do that they can't cancel. It happens. And she was flexible to accommodate our needs. She was open to explain what we need when we were in the deliberation room with the questions. I have no complaints about Judge Cannoni.
And did you get the feeling that she was favoring one side or the other? Or did you get any sort of vibe that she wanted one side to win and not the other?
I'm avoiding the word favored because I can't say. I felt there was more objections being allowed and the defense witness. So Alan Jackson, I think he was the lawyer, he would object something and she will allow all the time for Brennan. And the opposite happened when was Jackson objecting, and she would, I'm sorry, I'm saying the opposite. So when Jackson objected, she would allow, and when Brennan objected, she would sustain. So there was a moment, there was some witnesses that was hard to follow because there was so many objections from Mr. Brennan, and she was just allowing all of them.
Now there were
sustaining all of them. I'm sorry, I'm so confused.
No, that's okay. It's that way for everyone. But I get what you're saying, and what you're saying is, when the defense wanted something, it seemed like they didn't get what they wanted. When the prosecution wanted something, they seemed to get what they wanted a little more often, and that happens a lot.
Exactly. I couldn't use better words. Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you.
Okay. Who was the most effective lawyer in the courtroom? And for folks who don't know, you're a licensed lawyer in Brazil, and so you have a great background in all of this. So from your perspective, this I think is really valuable. Who did you feel was the most persuasive, the most effective lawyer in that courtroom?
Persuasive, I'm going to give to Alan Jackson. The way he presents himself, the way his voice, his presence in court is incredible. So he's looking in the eyes and he will convince you and show you like his story perfectly. The lawyer I liked the most was Alessi, Mr. Alessi. I just think he was so knowledgeable, and all the technical witnesses that he had to cross and direct, and it was incredible to watch their work. Mr. Brendan, I think he did great cross-examining, much more than he did direct examining, so that was interesting.
Yes.
And then I think I heard he's a defense lawyer.
Right, he really is. He was a prosecutor. He's been a defense attorney for many years, and now he came in as a special prosecutor just for this case. What is your message for John O'Keefe's family?
Oh, the reason why I want to come out and speak to the press was because I want the family to know that we feel very sorry for their loss. I truly believe John was a great man. I believe he was a great uncle, son, brother, and his death was absolutely unnecessary. I don't know what happened to him. Nobody knows what really happened that night. But I truly believe that wasn't Karen Reed, and for that reason we couldn't convict her. And please, I really hope you can reopen the case, the family can reopen the case somehow. I don't know how the system working very well. And they can find really what happened to John O'Keefe that night.
Let me ask you this. After this case, it's only been a couple days. So you watch this entire trial, you hear all the evidence, you deliberate for days, you return the verdict, you're done. Have you taken any time to research and find out some of the things that weren't permitted in front of you as jurors, to find out more about the story, more about the history, et cetera, of what happened here? Did you do that after the trial at all?
I didn't much. One thing I did, like after the verdict, we went to the deliberation room and I downloaded an X account and I started to follow all the journalists who were there, because I know news go on this platform. I'm not very active on social media in general, but I wanted to go up there and see what they were talking about. But I read much more people's opinion and the news from the trial itself than about what happened on the first trial. But I really want to I really want to watch the first trial. I want to watch the documentary. I want to go on YouTube. I saw some YouTube videos of lawyers commenting on the case, but I didn't have time to check anything deeply serious, honestly.
Interesting. Do you know about Turtle Boy?
Turtle Boy, now I know. So Turtle Boy, when I moved to Massachusetts last year, I passed by some billboards, free Karen Reed, which I didn't know what means. And I also saw some billboard or some loud signs saying free Turtle Boy. One time I remember driving through that and I saw a protest, free Turtle Boy. And I remember clearly thinking that's an environmental issue. That's someone maybe fighting for, I know, marine turtles. I really had no clue who he was. And during trial, we heard about a blogger, and then now on deliberation, some jurors comment that this blogger was in court, and then one thing leads to another. Now I know who Turtle Boy is.
Okay, now here's a question I ask every juror after a trial. It should be really interesting because you understand another system of justice from where you practice down in Brazil. But what can our system of justice do better? And whether it's do better and to help jurors and to just help get to the truth. What can we do better?
Very hard question for me because up to now I wasn't involved with the legal system here at all. My first time hearing, understanding, learning some legal terms that I didn't know in English before was during this trial, and I think it worked great. This juror system, we don't have, it's a bit different than in Brazil, but we represent the society, we represented what the community wanted, I believe, and I can't say what I would like to change, a suggestion I have for the system right now, because again, like I said, I don't practice law here, and for me, everything was very new. The legal system is new to me. I want to learn more, I'm excited now to learn more, but this trial, what stands up to me was the investigation. The investigation was floppy. The system itself, I mean, I have no criticism.
Well, Paula, this has been amazing, getting this insight from you. I know you're exhausted, and we thank you so much. The folks who are watching at home, thank you as well. They've been so invested in this case, and we saw what happened, you know, inside the courtroom, but now we understand much better how you got to that decision. Can you do me one favor? Because I know you've got 4 kids who miss their mom so much. For all of us at Court TV, give them a big, big hug tonight when you get back.
I will. Thank you so much. I'm happy I was part of the process. I'm happy I'm having the opportunity to talk about it, to, you know, help people understand what was going on for us. And I really would like to ask people to look for reliable sources of news and what really happened. There is a lot of fake news, a lot of silly stuff going out there. So if you guys really care about John O'Keefe, let's focus and get justice for him.
Thank you so much. Paula Prado, juror number 11. Okay, folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
The brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
Detectives arrested Brian Kohlberger.
And I pray that we have justice.
The Idaho College student murders trial. Live coverage begins this August, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. What's happening in the world of crime and justice. Indicted, actually re-indicted. This is Barry Morphew, has been indicted for the murder of his wife Suzanne out in Colorado on Mother's Day in 2020, May 20th. Bond set at $3 million. You recall he was originally arrested and charged, and then the charges were dismissed. Well, now he has been indicted again. We shall see how this case progresses, but this is big, big news. Barry Morphew locked up, bond set at $3 million for the murder of his wife. Please take a look at your television screens, ladies and gentlemen. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Adriana Renee Bates. Adriana, 13 years old, missing out of Charlotte, North Carolina. If you see her, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. Numbers on the screen. Let's get Adriana to a safe place tonight.